Hi there, and welcome to my course on Worship Leader Fundamentals. My name is Matthew, and I am so glad that you are here. In this course, we're going to be exploring the lifetime journey that worship leadership is. It's a paradox. It's a lifetime of learning, but it can happen in a moment. You becoming a worship leader is a measure of taking on an identity, but it's also committing to a lifetime of learning. I don't claim to have some insider knowledge about this journey, but I do claim to have a passion and a desire to help people become better worshipers of the Lord. The whole idea of this course, this platform, is to help worship leaders come full circle to the presence of God. With all of the technology of our modern age, it's easy to get caught up in tasks and projects, making sure that we have the best stage layout, that our technology is up to par. And even it's possible to get caught up with, I need to meet with all of my team members to prioritize relationships. And all of these things are good and even necessary to run a successful worship ministry. And again, I don't claim to have the corner on the market to know how to run a successful worship ministry, but I do have years of experience and hands-on learning that I hope to share some basic fundamental principles that hopefully can help you on your journey in becoming a worship leader. All of this starts for me when I was 13. This story of encountering the love of God in the person of Jesus for the first time. I had grown up in the church. My dad was a Presbyterian minister in the church. So from day one was involved with church, was going to church, was a part of what was happening. I went to Awana, memorized all of the verses, and things were great, but it really wasn't until I was 13 when that personal revelation, understanding of God's love for me became real. And I will remember it distinctly forever. It was we had just started going to a new church here in Spokane, and it was my first time attending their youth group. I remember coming in, and they played some crazy games like how many peeps can you shove in your mouth, just crazy youth games. Um, but then I remember they played a worship set up front, and I remember being so just amazed. Oh my goodness, there are drums on the stage. What is happening? But I was intrigued. What is happening? What is going on? So they played their 3 songs up front, and I just remember feeling this presence in my chest that I couldn't really describe, that I couldn't really put words to, but I knew was different. And the youth pastor gets up and begins sharing. And he starts teaching out of John 4, the story of this woman who was ostracized from her community, who was set apart, not in a good way, who was looked down upon. She was going to draw water from a well in the middle of the day when it was the hottest, when no one else was around, when everyone had gone to get their water in the morning. This woman said, no, I'm going to go when nobody else is around in the middle of the day. And Jesus meets her there in person. This is his on earth ministry. He meets this woman at the well. And he asks her, woman, would you give me some water? And the woman kind of flabbergasted said, why do you ask me for water? And they have this whole exchange. And what we come to see is that Jesus knows everything about this woman's life. He knows that she's had a couple of marriages that haven't worked out. He knows that she is ostracized by her community. He knows the pain that she carries on a daily basis. And what's amazing about this story is that Jesus had every reason not to reach out and to connect with this woman. But he transcended every boundary, transcended every wall, and extended the love of God to this woman. And this woman becomes this traveling evangelist, going back to her village to say, "Come meet the man who told me everything I've ever done. Could this be the Messiah, Christ?" You see, my heart was touched by this story because I resonated a lot with this woman. There were some things that had happened early on in my life, childhood trauma and despair, discouragement that I was holding on to. And to recognize that even if it didn't make sense, and even if it wasn't something that I would initiate, God was initiating something with me. I felt in that moment the love of the Father, the love of God surround me. And he said, "Matthew, I want a relationship with you." I was moved at 13. I just knew that, man, I have to do this. So the worship team gets back up and plays a song that they had written together. And I don't remember the exact lyrics of the song, but it goes something like, "Lord, I don't care anymore about what people might think, about any of the excuses that I've made. God, any excuses that have kept me from this. I need you, Lord." And I remember that being the honest cry of my heart in that moment. To say, "God, I don't care anymore about these excuses, about my past, God, about any of these things that would keep me from a real relationship with you and from experiencing your love." So I gave my heart to the Lord in that moment. And what was so powerful about that moment, and it was marking for the rest of my life, was that I met Jesus in a moment of worship. You see, worship is not about the songs that we sing. It's not about the services that we execute. It's not about the transitions being flawless. In the same way as Scripture is not the end in and of itself, it is a means to point us to an encounter with the living God. Worship is not the end in and of itself. Worship is the act, it's the means to have an encounter with the living God. And this is the bedrock of all worship leadership, is that to lead worship is to lead people to have a tangible, personal encounter with the living God, the one who was, who is, and who is to come. When you step on stage or when you step into your booth, you're not just executing a service, you're not just executing a task. You are helping people have a tangible and personal encounter with the living God. I want you to think about that. Sit with that. How have maybe you've been viewing your week in and week out responsibilities? Have you been viewing it as this holy calling to help people encounter the living God? Or have you been going through the motions, mailing it in? Wherever you may be between those two options, whatever place you might be in that spectrum, I would invite you right now to just say a prayer of humility to say, "God, I don't care anymore about the excuses. I don't care anymore about what is hindered in the past. Lord, I need you. I need you to come heal, come restore, come inspire, come direct, God. Come do what only you can do." Friends, in this course, I dearly hope that you would walk away with an inspiration, a new passion for helping people encounter the living God. That is the joy and the goodness of what we get to do. So until next time, take care.